Hey folks, and welcome back here to Gatekeeper Media as we bring you coverage of the Disc Golf Pro Tour Championship out in Charlotte, North Carolina at Nevin Park. It's been a long season and this is the finale. We can't wait to get underway. Appreciate you all tuning in. With a special thank you to all of our Patreon supporters who help make the coverage possible. Bringing you the commentary will be myself, Dustin Murray, once again joined by Nathan Queen. How's it going, sir?
Doing well. Happy to be here in Charlotte.
Indeed, and this commentary of the Disc Golf Pro Tour Championships is brought to you by Dynamic Disc. Gain an edge over your competition with the superior look and feel of Dynamic Disc Supreme Series Plastic. You can learn more about this next-gen disc technology at the link in the description.
And as you see, we have a fun card to watch here today as only 16 players attack this course. You get to see Gregg Barsby, Niklas Anttila, Emerson Keith, and let's just go ahead and jump straight into the bags.
Yeah, right now we're going to take a look at Niklas Anttila putts with the P1. Going to see some tactics for approaches, MD3s for his main, and then you're going to see the FD, the PD, maybe some DD3s as well for distance.
And getting into Gregg Barsby's bag, putting with the Big Beat AVR and maybe that Firefly also. Going to see some upshots with the Toros and the Rhinos. And then really leaning on the Eagles and the Roadrunners mostly out here in the woods, but may see him disc up to Scorpius or Firebird.
Yeah, take a look at Brodie Smith, putts with the Roach, going to be using the zone for some approaches, likes the Meteor for one of his main mids, also throws some buzzes, also see the Raptor, the Vulture, and some nukes, I'm sure, at some point as well.
And getting into Emerson Keith's bag, newly putting with that Faith or the Sense, going to be upshotting mostly with the Harps and Justices and lots of Explorers out here in the woods, but may see a Rive or a Ballista Pro. And straight into hole 1, 320-foot par 3. You've got to make it over that path we just crossed to be in bounds. Kind of a righty backhand flex shot.
Up first, please put your hands together for Mr. Niklas Anttila, representing Discmania.
That's right, Niklas Anttila. Of course, fresh off a second-place finish at DGC, just a stroke behind Gainer Burr. Also came 4th at the European Open, 8th at the Green Mountain Championship. Also was in the top 15 at Champions Cup. Had several other top 20 finishes on tour this year at MVP, Texas State's, and the Des Moines Challenge. Only about 20 years old, I believe, and definitely looks like a great upcoming talent.
Definitely so. And pulling off that second place at DGC last week, not many times you're going to feel disappointed in that. But I'm sure there was a little bit there as he was fighting for the lead the entire way.
Up next, representing Innova Champion Discs, please give a warm welcome to Mr. Gregg Barsby.
And Gregg Barsby coming in, placed 3rd at Texas State's this year, 7th at GMC, and 15th at Idlewild. Also placed within the top 25 at Worlds, European Open, and Champions Cup, so has done well at some majors and looking to do well here in the finale.
And you really want to get a pretty good flex shot. Gregg has done that well right here. A little bit too much steam, but a good stop. Going to be in circle 1.
Next on the tee, representing Discraft, please put your hands together for Mr. Brodie Smith.
And Brodie Smith coming in, placed 3rd this year at DDO, 9th at D-Glow, was also in the top 20 at the European Open and the Green Mountain Championship, top 25 at Jonesboro. It looks early.
Yeah, a bit early. The forehand play is going to be harder to park it. You really have to throw something understable and stand it up.
Rounding out our card, representing Latitude 64, please give a warm welcome to Mr. Emerson Keith.
And Emerson Keith also had a podium finish this year at the Des Moines Challenge. Also came 5th at the Champions Cup, 8th at Texas State's. Found himself in the top 20 at Jonesboro and within the top 25 recently at DGC.
And also electing to go with that forehand. We'll see if he's able to stand it up a bit more.
Just feels like players are going with whatever they're most comfortable with to attack the gap and make sure they don't come up short of that OB.
Oh, and he is kicked over close to that OB on the left side, but it does look like he stays in bounds. And we haven't said it yet, but these players, 4 are moving on from this group of 16, and the top 4 scores do move on, tiebreakers by seed. So almost a different type of mindset today. Gotta get every stroke you can, especially if you're one of the lower seeds out here.
Yeah, it's kind of a hybrid of almost stroke and match play, just kind of realizing that you need to beat those in front of you to get in that top 4. Move on to the next stage. We've got Barsby here, able to knock in a birdie to kick off his round. Definitely what you want to open things up.
Brodie, the 4th player that I didn't quite get to when I was mentioning them earlier, able to tap in his par. Emerson looking for the birdie.
And that'll do it. Staying off that left OB and cashing in the 2. Just definitely seems like a hole that was very birdieable this week.
Yeah, one of the easier holes on the course. 8 of the 16 players were able to grab the birdie today. Brings us into hole 2. 410-foot downhill par 3, about 20-foot downhill. There's OB that carries this entire left side. Fairly wide gap for what we're going to see out here. And you really just want something that's going to move right pretty much the whole way. You can push it straight a little bit, but you really don't want to test that OB.
I feel like the error I saw some people have was pushing their disc too straight, but definitely sets up well for the righty forehand. And, well, Barsby has indeed fallen victim to not getting that fade early enough.
Yeah, definitely too straight there. Once you saw that disc stand up, it immediately needed to turn back right to stay out of that OB. You really want to go inside that tree in the middle down there.
Yeah, if you go outside, you need that stability quick, and Keith is able to get the angle just right there. Going to put himself near circle 1 and away from that out of bounds.
And you see him coming up in circle 2. That's most likely just because it went around that tree. It adds a good bit of distance to the shot, even though it doesn't seem so. Just the angle it has to go.
Niklas does find the inside of that tree like we were discussing earlier, and he's going to be rewarded. Nice little flare skip there. And I don't really see him throw forehands too much, but able to make it work on this hole.
Yeah, very smooth. Backhand is a very touchy shot on this one. It's definitely doable, but with that OB makes it very scary.
Brodie also going on the outside route, and again, it kind of lined up just as you said. That's the difference maker. Going to put him in circle 2.
Yeah, impressive speed, though. It didn't look like that was going to make it that close to circle 1 from what I saw, but lots of speed on it and got up there close to the edge of the circle. Gregg, after going OB, just pitching up and down, going to go ahead and give that birdie right back.
Yeah, that's definitely a tough way to kick things off. You have the high of the birdie, but then immediately cancel it out. So we got a long putt here for Emerson for birdie. Just not quite enough fade on that one. We'll have to settle for the par. Oh, and that step putt, just not committed. Just so low, not what I'm used to seeing from him.
Yeah, maybe a little rushed. Sometimes you can get a little ahead with your body, and it'll make you shove your disc down.
Niklas, though, able to come in there and grab the score as put him at 1 under through the first 2 holes, tying him up with Emerson Keith.
What I thought to be a pretty difficult birdie to get. 8 of the 16 players were able to get this birdie today with 4 pars and 4 bogeys. So this one's still playing as one of the easier holes on the course at a 2.75.
Keith able to grab the par and keep himself right there next to Niklas. Again, Barsby taking the bogey here as we move on to hole 3, which is a much tougher affair indeed.
Yeah, second hardest hole on the course. Rather than going straight down and having to turn right pretty quickly like the last hole, this one you've got a pretty narrow fairway straight before you then need a hard right turn that just continues to hook around. So really you need to power an overstable disc on a forehand that's going to skip 3 or 4 times to get all the way down to this pin, but a very difficult task. So we may just see some backhand plays trying to creep up to circle 2 or maybe get into circle 2.
Oh, and that is just early for Niklas. And the rough here is very treacherous. It's very hard to scramble. Definitely going to challenge our players all round long. As Keith and Brodie, I imagine, will also be looking to go forehand as well as Barsby. Did not quite get enough flip up there.
Yeah, going to be on that right side, but didn't look like he got into the woods too far. The late part of this fairway really brings in a lot more trees, though, than you see here off of the tee.
Yeah, certainly a much more guarded green than hole 2, even though it's a, left or right moving shot at a similar distance. But again, you have to be more subtle with it. Got to push it more forward, and Brodie gets hung up as well.
Oh, and Gregg definitely getting aggressive with that forehand, trying to stand it up just a little too much. Ends up pulling it over to the left side, but a pretty decent kick.
And Niklas not making much progress here on this left-hand side of the fairway, so looking at bogey at best at this point.
Yeah, and with this format, you have to limit to bogey. Once you start taking doubles and above, it's really hard to get your mindset back into that you still have a chance. Because if you don't get one of those top 4 scores, you are not moving on to the next round, and you won't have a chance to catch back up.
Yeah, Niklas playing some pinball again with that one, looking at a double. As this is much different golf than what these players just faced last week.
Yeah, just 40 minutes away from here, 50 minutes away. Much different golf.
Yeah, a lot of players kind of comparing what they were feeling here throughout practice as being very familiar to Northwoods Black. And you can definitely kind of see the similar challenges that the players will face throughout the round. It's not going to be one of those big double-digit scores under par type of days.
But I do see it as being possible out here. I may be biased as a North Carolina golfer. I see a lot of soft landing zones that you really want to hit out here. If you get too aggressive, that's when you're going to see a lot of these scrambling shots. But if you can play to a soft landing rather than just trying to skip your disc somewhere, if you play to that soft spot, that's how you're going to see those low scores.
And Barsby hitting a huge one for par. So he's already pretty much tasted every flavor of scoring here through these first 3 holes.
And this is another way to avoid those big numbers out here. Hit those circle 2 putts. It's kind of like you said, every flavor that you want to have. Nothing over that single bogey. So he's got his big par save there. Brodie Smith also able to get a par. Yeah, he's only got 1 flavor so far. Looking for a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, despite
his tasted a little bland.
Yeah. Despite some struggles, he's done exactly what you were talking about, which is avoid trouble. These pars, if you can keep chipping away, avoid any penalties, that birdie can come. You just gotta kind of hold out for it.
And Emerson as well. 3 great par saves here. After not too much great off of the tee pad, but we did not see a single birdie on this hole today. So par saves are great.
Man, that is surprising. I would have thought maybe 1 or 2 snuck through, but certainly a much more difficult hole, as we'll be back after a short break.
Behind every face is a story, unique, each and every one. Beautiful stories, inspiring stories, some beyond our wildest dreams. And every day, a new story begins. We salute every fearless, self-assured, undeterred, hopeful face all across America. Here's to the next 100 years. Barbasol.
right, moving into hole 4, 462-foot par 3. This light pole that we're coming up to now marks about 380 feet, which is where that OB ditch is at also. This hole is 462, but I'm going to say it plays closer to 390 or so, pretty far downhill. Heiser's stand-up shot is, I think, the ideal play, but if you can throw something straight that far, that'll work also.
Yeah, it's a 32-foot decline from the tee to the lowest point of the fairway, and then it moves up about 19 feet as you approach the green. So definitely some big elevation change here. Well, that's pulled right.
Not too much.
Yeah.
Doesn't catch anything for a long while. Kicks back out for another par save.
Yeah, a bit of an overcorrection from what we saw from Emerson there, but like you said, going to be in a great spot for an easy par. Could possibly even run it with that backstop.
Similar situation here for Barsby. Also coming up short of that ditch. We'll be able to pitch up for par.
Yeah, and you see him put that towel down. There's been a little bit of chatter out here after the rain about how these tee pads just absorbed the wet and won't let go of it. They were good all the way through practice the last couple weeks, but that rain has stuck and having a few players with some slipping issues.
Yeah, so no one makes it to the green here on this card. Everyone going to be scrambling for par. Niklas has the worst angle of all, having to play this flex forehand, but does it so well. Wow, what an execution there.
Yeah, great touch shot. Let's go and take a look at that again. Using so much angle. You see him recoil is what I'll say. That whole wrist and arm, forearm just wrap around and follow the flight that he wants that disc to make. Very good shot. Fun to watch.
And I was totally wrong. Emerson Keith definitely in a much tougher spot than Niklas, but makes the most of it. Definitely going to have a chance here to grab a little bit of a downhill putt for par.
Wow, and how do you go too far from there? He made it
I don't
through
know.
everything and then ended up outside the circle long.
Brodie also juicing it there, giving himself a tricky downhill putt for par, as he and Barsby certainly had the best position off the tee.
Yeah, I imagine we're going to see a nice bid here from Gregg.
I mean, he's so good at him, man. Just soars that one right over the basket. He's certainly known kind of in that under 200-foot range. You know it could go in. Can't do that out here.
No, not an easy putt, but definitely one you need to make, especially if you traveled that far to have a chance to save your par. You feel like you need to make it.
It's more just what's at stake. There is no extra round to make up mistakes like that. It's very cutthroat in this format, and so you kind of really feel the repercussions of every missed opportunity right away. Just got that one over.
Yeah, and that'll put him back to even with pretty much the rest of the card. Niklas with that double bogey on the last hole. Gonna be at +1 as long as he can put in this par save.
Well done. Just a drop in really for Barsby before we head over to hole 5.
Yeah, and I believe hole 5 is typically hole 1 out here at Nevin Park. We've got a different layout or different ordering for the Tour Championship this week. But hole 5, 580-foot par 4. Got about 260 feet before you dogleg to the right. Very specific dogleg though. If you go 270 and turn right, you've gone too far. If you go 250 and turn right, you're not far enough. Gonna have a pinched off angle. And there's kind of a row of trees that once you turn right, you have to miss as well.
This is certainly really the first shot of the round where position's so much more important than distance, and that was really well done from Smith.
Yeah, that was far enough that the distance might have outweighed the position there. He's a little off to the right, but so far down there, I think he's still going to be just fine.
Man, it's certainly going to make the approach a lot easier, no doubt about that. This is going to be a tricky, slow-turning shot here with the backhand from Anttila. Wow.
And a good late stop there to keep him towards the middle of the fairway. He's also going to have a fairly clean look down to the green from there.
Just early out the hand from Keith.
Yeah, not going to make that corner. And once you do get to this corner, this fairway drops down 30 feet. And continues to drop past the basket where some OB does pop up just outside the circle to the right and long.
This is a great looking shot here from Barsby, considered the angle he was dealing with. Just catches really the last tree he needed to miss to get to the circle.
Yeah, still a great recovery shot. Gonna have a long look at a birdie if he wants to run it.
Kind of a similar upshot situation for Anttila. It's just a couple of holes ago, but doesn't quite get down the fade out enough.
Yeah, that did look like about the same arm angle. Probably not quite what he was looking for. That's going to leave him around circle's edge. And when you can see the basket out here for your second shot, that is always a good feeling, and you want to put it pretty close.
And just as Keith has done there. Barsby, a long look here for birdie. Oh, wow. What a bid.
Yeah, good bid on hole 4. A better bid here, catches some chains. Not quite enough yet, though.
Oh, Anttila just a little left of center.
Oof, that's one of those ones. Kind of feel like it should have stayed in there.
Yeah, it's one of those ones on that left-hand side that you feel could go either way.
Yeah,
unfortunately, not going to fall in.
Kind of floated for a second on him that time, like hung in there for a second, and then it kicked out.
Yeah, Smith going to grab himself yet another par. So keeping himself even, keeping himself in the mix, but eventually those birdies need to come if he wants to challenge for one of those top 4 spots. So you're going to see Keith keep it to even as well.
Yeah, card all pretty tight together so far. And moving into hole 6, what would seem to be one of the easier holes on the course. 333 feet, but playing closer to 430 feet. A lot of power to get up here. 35 feet uphill, I believe. And it is blind. You can't see it. Hyzer stand-up shot. You really want to push the right side and then just fade right before those last trees. This is a little too right, though.
Yeah, it looked like Brodie did slip a little bit there. I saw him kind of hopping after the throw, so might have lost his balance there. As you kind of discussed the tee pads already, as we're going to see Barsby here. Looks like a decent move on this one.
Oh, it actually goes around those trees on the right side. Sneaks through, going to be right around circle's edge.
Yeah, I thought he was going to get caught up and be in circle too, but like you said, slid right by him and has himself a chance at birdie. As this looks great from Niklas. Hit it! Oh my goodness! Nearly.
And an absolutely parked shot here on hole 6. Gets that late stand up, pushes straight the whole way, and a nice little piece of bark skips him up, slows him down a bit.
Thought
That's
that
what
Pop was about
Emerson's-
to have him challenge the rim of the basket there for a second, but like you said, certainly parked for birdie, and yeah, Keith just too low.
early. Yeah, and needing to get up and down to save a par here.
That's tough when you're being forced to throw a forehand roller up a hill. Can't really get that angle to get it towards the basket.
Oh, not enough height, kid.
Brodie still on that par train. And if you watched any of the coverage from yesterday, saw a bit of struggles from the play-in players. There was 2 spots available. They were all trying to play in for today. And 1 over, 2 over got in. I don't believe that's going to be the case today, but these guys right now are... Nobody saw that. Don't worry about it.
The scorecard
These
don't
guys-
care about anything, Barsby.
These guys today are kind of playing towards that same pace right now. Really going to need to pick up some birdies as Gregg gets one there, but nobody saw it.
Yeah, Anttila, go ahead and fix those chains up. Make sure this thing drops in the bottom of the bucket, and that is going to put him back to even. As we kind of talked about, this card is sitting pretty tight. Only just a stroke of separation, really, between everyone. One way or another, as we take one more short break before we finish off the front 9.
What could we have here?
What do we have here? This never gets old. Opening a new box of discs.
Fancy stuff here.
Okay. Ooh, this thing is sick. Good quality, super stiff, pretty grippy too, I would say.
I'm really super excited to throw these.
I think I would throw every disc in this plastic.
What could we have here?
Fancy stuff here.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Good quality, super stiff, pretty grippy too, I would say.
I think I would throw every disc in this plastic.
Moving into hole 7, 375-foot downhill par 3, incredibly downhill. Yeah, 33 feet, and then immediately behind the basket is going to drop another 25 feet. So speed control, putter or mid-range, land about 50 feet short and let it slide up. You'd rather miss long, so that way you can pitch up the hill for par and not have to worry about anything crazy happening.
Now you summed it up quite nicely, as we are going to see Barsby coming up a bit short. Going to be a tough birdie putt from there. Niklas pulls this one a bit right, but might get away with it. He's trying to kick his way down there. Going to get caught up as well.
Yeah, and a scary upshot from up there. When you have to go around trees, you can't necessarily land it on the angle that you want to. Oh.
Okay. All right, then. Well, you can't miss the gap if you don't go for it, Nathan.
Well.
You know, the crazy thing is, I saw Ricky Wysocki during the practice round throw like a crazy backhand sky roller off the left end of the fairway because he never even made it to the mouth. So I guess there's something there. I don't know.
Yeah, I think you just kind of got to get lucky and crash in. You've got room to get a hyzer out there, but I mean, I guess he feels better crashing left than I don't know.
I did not expect that. Let's put it that way. Okay, I mean, so I guess if you're playing this hole for par, just getting there and being able to pitch up like that, it doesn't really matter how you do it.
Yeah, but you should be able to do that with the backhand, and with the backhand, you can possibly give yourself an opportunity for birdie. I feel like that play out high over the road, much less chance to get the birdie, as you've got to see what the trees are going to do to your disc, really. There's not a gap.
It makes you wonder if he just struggled with this hole a ton in practice, and he just felt like that was the play he had to do. I don't know. It looks like we should be seeing plenty of pars here on hole 7. Everyone's certainly near enough to feel like they have a safe putt.
Yeah, that one still feels a bit testy with that just out of the view of the camera there, that 25-foot drop. So, looking at nothing behind it, you're going to feel a bit more nerves, but all these players shouldn't have an issue, like you said.
Everyone just dropping it in and maintaining position with just 2 holes left to go here on the front half of the course.
And moving into what I believe to be one of the more difficult par 4s on the course, 622, want to land somewhere around that bridge. There's 2 gaps to get there. You can take an inside line that's going to be a righty backhand flex shot, or there's a left gap that's more of a forehand play that you're going to see. The left gap is going to put you short of that bridge, and you've really got to depend on a skip. You got to make sure you don't hit any roots or skip too far.
It's one of those ones where, again, it just all comes down to what you're most comfortable hitting those initial gaps with and what you feel is your best position to play from on your second shot. All about placement and feeling comfortable.
Yeah, and Gregg and Niklas both getting too far left there. Man, I'm really surprised. We're not seeing this inside flex shot. I really think that's a better way to land where you want to on this hole. And so far, nobody's done that.
Yeah, I would have thought Niklas would be kind of the main one that would go for the backhand play, but everyone's on this outside route.
Yeah,
no.
Not hitting it. Sorry to cut you off there. I'm so surprised. I don't understand why nobody tried that backhand shot.
And nasty kick there for Barsby. Certainly going to have to put his scrambling shoes on to get up there to save the par. Yeah, and I mean, Brodie just juiced what's a very understable approach disc and just catches a tree early there.
Emerson seemed like he gained some distance there, but still not going to quite get all the way down.
Niklas actually putting a good move on this disc. If he can fight through... Oh, my goodness. He's going to have a birdie putt.
Yeah, don't see stuff fight through the woods like that too often out here in Charlotte.
No, not at all. That's one where you're holding your breath the whole time, just hoping that you can trickle through.
Yeah, that's more like what you're used to seeing. Brodie trying to throw it vertical just to get through. He is able to make it about 30 or 40 feet forwards and into the fairway.
Emerson, just a nice touch, straight shot here to grab himself a par, and well executed at that. This is where Brodie was hoping to be a shot ago, but able to still make it happen to hopefully limit the damage.
Yeah, you're going to want to be closer than that. I believe he's putting for bogey with that. Still catching one of those late trees, and there was somebody in the woods over there. Start hitting the tree and coming backwards.
I believe that was Barsby. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's the last one to really kind of make way towards the green, but you know he's trying to look for chains with this one. And that's not a bad effort. Just fades out a little early on him. And Brodie able to float it in there, at least keep the damage minimal.
Yeah, first non-par on the scorecard for him. Not the one he was looking for. But happy to not have that double. Still has an opportunity to score some birdies later on.
As Anttila able to claw his way back to 1 under par here as we get towards the end of this front 9.
And one of just 4 birdies on the day.
Let's believe this will put Barsby probably back to even. If I did my math right, which is always a scary thing to do as a commentator. I could just let the graphic do it. There's no need to risk it. But hey, it worked out.
No risk when you get it right, I guess.
Oh, still a risk. I just got away with it this time.
And Emerson gonna tap in his par. So the whole card's still within 2 strokes of each other. Not much out here when you've got all these trees. Moving into hole 9, a brand new tee pad out here at Nevin. 630-foot par 4. It's about, I believe, 300 feet to crest the top of that hill. But you really want to get about 350 feet to be in an ideal spot to approach the basket, which this hole goes up 20 feet and down about 20 feet. So pretty specific shots here as well, even though it's left to right. This backhand shot that Niklas just threw.
That was so good. This is his 3rd replay of the round, by the way, if I'm counting correctly.
Yeah. And
he's just lacing the lines, man.
That's so good.
Oh, yeah.
Of course,
Still
coming
gonna
from...
be... Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just saying, like, I feel like this is a kind of golf he's probably used to playing back at home, you know. Just knowing that wooded areas that kind of take place in that Nordic region.
Yeah, I've definitely heard him talk before about he does feel more at home in the woods. That's what his type of golf is like over in that area. And even with that great shot he had, he's still going to be slightly off to the left side and still have to try to manufacture something. As 2 other players have gone early right.
Not too much.
And that forehand just flips over too much for Brodie, but at least he gets a kick back to the center. Just hasn't made much progress, though.
Gregg,
Didn't quite catch where that landed, but it seems like he made the most of it.
Oh, man. It's pretty early laying down forehand roller. Trying to cut around that corner. I don't know exactly where he got to.
Keith gets caught up there, so once again, scrambling a must. This is Niklas, his 2nd shot, trying to see if he can put one over on the card. Just slightly overturned, man, but still bounces down to circle 2.
You want to hear something crazy?
I'm always down. Go on.
I guess it could not be too crazy, but 5 people of the 16 players birdied this hole today.
Yeah, I definitely would have thought it'd be less, just based on how this hole's looking.
Yeah, this hole, that tee shot's so demanding to get to a spot to have an upshot. None of them were parked.
I believe 4 of the 5 got circle 1 regulation, though, so that's still pretty darn good. Oh, there. You felt like one was on the way.
And
He's been so close so many times. Yep, it's finally made its appearance here on hole number 9.
Outside circle 2?
That was 75
Close
feet.
to it. Yeah. Gregg Barsby with another big par save. Had a big putt on hole 2. Not quite that far. Or excuse me, hole 3 to save his par.
Niklas trying to give it a bid, but we'll have to settle for par, but still coming out the front 9, 1 under. Keeping himself in the mix.
And you can hear Brodie knowing he needs to make these putts. 1 over is not where you want to be at. There's some other players in front of them already putting up a few good scores. So if you're looking at the scores, then he could know he's fallen a bit behind.
And by his own admission, that has been the part of the game that he's been struggling with the most, particularly from Circle 2, and definitely bit him here. Back-to-back bogeys to end his front 9. As we take a look at some scores here, it is Anttila leading the way. Ran into some trouble on hole 3, but kept the clean outside of that. Found a few birdies along the way to keep him at 1 under. Barsby just a stroke behind, and it's still a pretty tight race in the end. We can see that Mason Ford, a couple of others here, slightly more under par than Anttila, trying to set the pace. But we appreciate all of you for tuning in here to our coverage of the Pro Tour finale. Of course, a special thank you goes out to all of our Patreon supporters who help make the coverage possible. Once again, I am Dustin Murray, bringing you the commentary at Nathan Queen. We'll see you soon on the back 9.
We'll see you guys out there.